What's up, everybody? So, we have a very special guest here with us, Mr. Klump Sr.
Yeah.
Okay. And, some of you don't know his work's been featured on Sports Illustrated, Fox Sports, Bleacher Report, USA Today, and more. So, everybody say hello to Mr. Klump. And I appreciate you coming on, man. It's an honor to have you here, man.
Hey, man, I'm so happy you asked me. I love your content on Twitter. I'm glad you finally decided to make the jump here. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, man. I'm looking forward to tuning in whenever I'm even out on the show. So I appreciate you having me on, man.
I appreciate you. And I know you should notice, but just in case everybody else hasn't noticed, I'm wearing my Tua jersey. And for those of you that don't know, I've got this Tua jersey because I was selected as one of the – he didn't give away one Tua jersey. He didn't give away two Tua jerseys. He gave away 3 Tua jerseys, and I happen to be one of those people, and I can show you it's proof right here. I've got it on, so I appreciate you, brother.
Yep, no worries. I'm glad you got it. It took forever, the whole COVID with the shipping and stuff. It's insane, man. It's crazy. But
well, I'll be honest with you, it went a lot faster than I thought because, I know some people during the season were talking about, they waited like 8-9 months. So.
Yep, I heard that too. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. But, all right, man, first question I wanted to get you, man, is give me, your overall thoughts, impressions, concerns, about what you saw from, Rondale Moore's pro day. He had that 4.29 unofficial 42 and a half inch vert, but he's 5'7".
Yeah, so, he's 5'7". 5'7" is. I saw someone today. I don't even remember who it was. Someone said don't worry about his height or something like that. 5'7" is extremely, extremely concerning. I actually messaged Reason and had him cracking up. I said, my soon-to-be 6-year-old daughter is almost 5'7". 5'7" that is not NFL football. That is probably the most concerning thing for me. I think what the worst part was is in my head, 5'9". I'm like, you know what? He's 5'9". We'll make it work. It's going to be okay. And then when I saw he measured in at 5'7", again, that is so small in the NFL. I would love to see – you're great with stats and stuff, so maybe you should do something like this. But I would love to see the stats on NFL players that are 5'7". That's crazy. It's just when you're that small and you're going against NFL players, it's a different world out there. College football, yeah, maybe he can make it through there. He can get going, but – 5'7", a lot of people worry about Devontae Smith's weight. Weight's not as big of a concern as 5'7". I will keep highlighting 5'7" is so small, but the guy's a freak of nature. 4.29 unofficial, so to me that's probably a 4.35 official. That's a great time. You can't beat that. That's all you need. The vert is crazy. That little guy jumping out of the moon. I'm jumping to the moon. He's athletic. I saw, I think, was it 24 bench press reps too for a little guy like that? You like to see that. The only thing that concerns me is the 5'7", and then he's got the injury history. I also said once I found out he was 5'7", I made the joke about my daughter, but then I told Reason too. I'm getting Tavon Austin vibes from him, which is that triggers me because I was one of those people that was oh, Tavon's gonna be great. All this stuff, and then no NFL team could figure him out offensively because it's hard when you're that small to get you have to generate the touches, which obviously a good offensive coordinator can generate the touches for him, but the defense knows that you have to generate the touches for him. He's not going to be a guy that you can just trust to go run 40, 50 routes a game. I don't think that's going to be what he's going to do in the NFL. He's going to have to be a gadget type player, and that's where kind of you get that. I saw some people saying round 1 for him. No shot am I taking him round 1. I consider him round 2. I wouldn't be surprised with the injury history, the 5'7". Maybe he even slides pretty late round 2. But I wouldn't mind if the Dolphins got him. I saw someone just said Jakeem Grant vibes.
Yeah.
I understand that. He doesn't drop the ball, though. So I'd consider him round 2. Just – I don't know, man. I definitely care more about the 5'7" than a lot of people did. That's not good for me. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Everybody's talking about Jakeem Grant, but they're exact heights, with each other. I don't necessarily think the Jakeem Grant, comparison would be fair because I'm sitting here looking at, the PFF stats from his 2020 season. He had 0 drops. So, there's not a drop concern. And I'll also be fair. I do think that Jakeem Grant gets a lot of grief for drops because of that one terrible. When you look at it, I mean, he didn't lead the team in drops. He wasn't even close. So, I mean, I do think some of that, hate on Grant for drops comes from that one pass, or at least this season anyway.
For sure.
But, my thing with Jakeem Grant's just been the lack of production over 5-6 seasons. I mean, the man's got 1,000 yards. And when you look at it, I did a comparison. I heard somebody tell me, well, Jakeem Grant was a 6th-round, draft pick, so he should be, he's probably in the top 10% in producing. Well, that's not true. And they said, Jakeem Grant was a hit. Well, Antonio Brown's a hit.
Yeah.
That's 6th round. Okay.
Oh yeah.
That's a hit. So, I think that it's, I get the Jakeem Grant with the size and everything, but I do think some of that's a little unwarranted. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can, if Rondale Moore was 5'7" and had put up like the season that, Devontae Smith and Jamar Chase had put up, then I might think about, 1st round.
Even Tavon Austin. Think about it. Yeah. Tavon Austin production, but he doesn't.
Yeah. So, I don't know, but and we got a lot of comments. I appreciate it, my man. 2 of the smartest guys in the Dolphins community. One of us is smart by actually knowledge. The other one's just by name. So, but I appreciate
smart it. With both.
But all right, man. Let's move to our next topic here, man. I wanted to ask you, as far as overall, complete thoughts, not just the sky's falling pre, Will Fuller, and then Will Fuller saved the day. We can shut it down. But just as far as overall needs and the overall direction, you know what I mean, of how free agency, went. Give me your thoughts.
So I have a very interesting view of free agency. I've mentioned it on Finside the NFL with reason. I'm like, I'll go high. I'll go 90%. I'm like 90% certain that the Miami Dolphins were going to trade for Deshaun Watson. I think that every move they made in free agency until the Deshaun Watson stuff dropped about him and his masseuse problems and all that, I think that they were like methodically spending their money to set it up to add a quarterback with that huge contract and to build around him. And I don't know. I think the Dolphins kind of had to pivot pretty hard, which was really concerning for me. I thought that not adding weapons was kind of weird. But when you have a quarterback like Deshaun Watson, not a knock on Tua, Deshaun Watson's just better than Tua right now. That's a fact. But when you have a quarterback like Deshaun Watson, you can kind of get away with having the Jakeem Grants, the Devontae Parkers. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't need as great of weapons. He'll be able to make plays happen and make it work. Even adding like a right tackle. You don't need to add a right tackle. If you have Deshaun Watson, he can make the plays outside the pocket. He can extend the plays. So I'm pretty certain that they were going to trade for Deshaun Watson. Actually, certain enough that I even got a little information that the Dolphins were like hard on trading for Deshaun Watson, which was kind of concerning. That was from someone I used to talk to with the Eagles and stuff. But yeah, I started off. Sky was falling for me, like you said. It just seemed like the sky was falling when I thought, oh my gosh, they're just missing out on people. They're not doing anything. But then it connected in my head. Wait, let's think about what's going on here. They're probably trying to trade for Watson. But I will say they recovered nicely. I'm actually a big fan of Chris Carson not signing, but they tried to sign him. I love that. I think that shows that the Dolphins, they know that adding a veteran running back like that will give them the flexibility in the draft that they need. They don't have to press at 18 for Najee Harris 36 would be fine with any running back to me, but they don't have to press in the 1st round for a running back. So I don't know. It was definitely a weird start and had me a little concerned that maybe I was wrong. Maybe I didn't see the Dolphins, the way they built their roster and the way they've been building the roster. I did not expect them to try so hard to get Deshaun Watson, I guess. I thought that, Flores wouldn't even want a player like Deshaun Watson, but I don't know. It looked like they were gonna. Then the Watson stuff hit, and Will Fuller. I mean, what a gem! Look at Tyreek Hill. Look at T.Y. Hilton's contract today. Oh my god!
Yeah. Whew.
I mean, the Dolphins. I would say Will Fuller's contract is one of the best of free agency. Like one of the best, if not the best. I mean, they got a player that I said if they were going to trade for Deshaun Watson, they should have tried to get him in a tag and trade because I love his game. Can't stay healthy. I'm not a big fan of the whole like injury prone thing. I feel like injury prone is kind of a weird label. It's the NFL. Everyone gets injured, in my opinion. It's pretty rare for a player not to get injured in the NFL. I always use the Tom Brady excuse. Like, freak injuries happen. Everyone forgets Tom Brady tore his ACL. Like, the greatest player ever can get injured and be out for a season. So I don't really build my team off of injuries. So I love what Will Fuller will bring to the offense. I think he's going to take the top off the defense. He's going to help out Tua. Tua's going to be able to throw some deep balls. And Will Fuller's pretty underrated running routes, too. I mentioned that. A lot of people don't realize he even said it. Like, he can do some work underneath, and he really can. He's a great player. I watch him play high school football. I'm excited. I'm excited about Will Fuller. I think all the other moves obviously were some depth. They were just some smart signings, cheap deals. But the Will Fuller one obviously is gonna highlight the whole free agency. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I'm not a Deshaun Watson guy. I'm not saying anything negative about Deshaun Watson whatsoever. I like the direction that they were going with Tua. I think I'm not one of those guys. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Tua looked like the most amazing thing in the world last year. But at the same time, I think, he was in a situation that was unlike most other, players. For sure. But, even me, I was sending you messages, before the whole, situation, arose of, man, they're about to make it, he's going to be traded tomorrow. I mean, and I literally sent that directly to you. They're trading tomorrow. And then the next morning, or maybe even later that evening, the story broke. But yeah, I don't have any sources or anything like that, but it was just the direction, the overall direction, because in my opinion, Will Fuller saves the class and or is the gem on the top and it's the shiny new thing, just as an average fan from me personally, I think it would have been absolutely phenomenal if you would have signed Lindsley at center. Then you don't have to go into the draft looking for a center, and then you sign a Carl Lawson. Now you don't have to go in the draft looking for center or edge. And people can talk about money, and look, let's just be honest. It's just how you write up the contracts, okay? Because look at who the Bucs have re-signed, okay? So it and I hate to hear people talk about and portray it as like the Dolphins were cap broke. I mean, they walked into free agency in the top 10. Yeah. And you look at all these other teams, it's just about how you write up the money. You know what I mean? Is all it is. So they could have done it. So, and my only issue is if they'd assigned like those two players, you go into the draft not having to draft it in, two entire positions. Yep. And in my opinion, I think they still need to address those, two positions in the draft. So it would have given them, in my opinion, a lot more flexibility, and directions to go in the draft. But besides that, I mean, the players that they got, I think that they did well. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan yet of Skura at center.
Yeah, center is definitely going to be the biggest concern for me too going into the draft.
But D tackle they signed, okay, DB, okay, all the other signings, I think has been
the trade at linebacker. That counts. A lot of people forget about that too.
Yeah. So, and granted, Isaiah Wilson sort of fell apart for him, but at the same time, I mean, they didn't spend anything for that. So, I mean, while it's sort of like an egg on your face and all the memes and stuff going around right now, but you still didn't pay anything for that. So, I don't think you lost anything on that. You know what I mean?
That's a pretty interesting story though, too. How about neither the Titans or the Dolphins knew he got arrested in January? That's pretty bizarre. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's some crazy. That's crazy to me. But yeah, the trade for the linebacker is huge, like you said. It wasn't like that free agency where you walk away from it like, wow, like this is crazy. But at the same time, when you really look at it, they improve their team. They just have such glaring holes. That's what I don't like. I don't like going into the draft with glaring holes. Like center is the biggest concern to me. Like I'm even okay at running back. Like Malcolm Brown and Myles Gaskin obviously is not ideal, but like I feel better about that than going in with what the Dolphins have at center right now. I can't get over the fact. I even heard him say it again. He blamed his bad snaps on a rainy game. Like as like a football coach in my lifetime and a football guy, like that is one of the worst excuses I have ever heard in my life. So what he's telling all of us right now at home is if it's raining, don't count on him. Like, give me a break, man. You like, I don't know. Center is definitely a big need for me. I know you're a big offensive line guy. I wish they would have got Lindsley. I said that should have been their number one target. I don't even know. I didn't see anything about them even trying to get him. I don't know.
Yeah, and his deal averaged out at $12.5 million a year. I mean, so we're not talking about like a Kenny Galladay deal. You know what I mean? I think $12.5 million for an All-Pro. You know what I mean? Center. Who's what? He's 28. You know, something like that. You know, I don't think that Lindsey got this just ungodly cap hell deal. You know what I mean? So that was my frustrations. And with Skura, I get the yips. But I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I'm not the professional that you are, but, I watched, the All-22 just from the very first game of this season. And, I mean, it was awful. I mean, like the first 4 plays, the Ravens run plays the Ravens ran, his guy just blows right by him and is making tackles at the line of scrimmage or in the backfield. So
not great.
those are the concerns. And I don't know. It's just you have so much youth on that offensive line. And I'm a big guy I'm not going to sit here and talk to you about, Austin Jackson's arms, hips, feet, speed, anything like that. But I'm just looking at it from mathematics. Okay. If you have questions with Austin Jackson, Kinley, Flowers, and now center, mathematically, they ain't all working out.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, 1 or 2 of them may, but all of them aren't just going to magically, be better this season.
And counting on a rookie center too. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
It's it's pretty concerning for me. The offensive line's obviously going to be a big question mark this year. I think that could make or break the Dolphins season. I think we could look back on it and we'll all be either pretty happy that it worked out, like you said, or it might not work out. Like you said, mathematically, I don't know. I mean, you hope. I think one thing, though, that does make me feel a little better, a lot of Dolphins fans will say, like, oh, it was Tua's first year. He's going to be better in year 2. I think if we're going to use that excuse for Tua, we should probably give it for the young offensive linemen, too. But, again, mathematically, like you said, you can't just act like that's a given that all those guys are going to work out. So, I don't know. We'll see. I definitely am concerned about the center position. I'm a little worried they're going to take a center earlier than we all think. Like, imagine a center at 18. I don't know how I'd feel about it, but I'm a little worried. I think the Dolphins have kind of just locked themselves into needing to reach on a player, and that makes me sick. Like, I don't like the idea of even a running back at 18. I don't like a center at 18. Maybe they can trade back from 18, but I think that they've really locked themselves into needing to improve one of those positions early, and that's kind of scary. I'm writing about it. It'll be out tomorrow, but it's worrisome when you need a need like that. Like, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
So my question is, and I know you put out a mock draft today. So when I ask you your draft preference, I'm not going to ask you necessarily your players, but if anybody hadn't checked out your mock draft, I'll recommend they go into hitting up the Twitter and checking it out. And just a quick run through. I mean, I don't think anybody needs me to introduce who your 3rd pick was. Okay, but Pitts, all right. And then you had it at 18. How do you say his last name, man? Correctly, the Texas.
It's tough. It's tough.
Is it Cosme?
I think it's Cosme. I think that's the way to say it.
Okay. So you had Cosme at 18.
I'm so bad with some names sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you watch like film and there's no like announcing and stuff. Yeah. So it's like, even harder to know the names. Like Penei Sewell. Like I always mess his name up. I'm sure Reason's probably gonna dog on me for that. I just always some names are tough. That's a tough one.
Yeah. So I know you had Cosme at 18. 36, you had another tough one.
Yeah. Sai, that's probably
there you go. Edge player from Texas. And now we've got, weapon, tackle, and edge, taken care of. You had 50. You had a running back you're really high on, Gainwell.
Yeah, I love Gainwell.
Okay.
Gainwell to me is one of those guys that when you look at running backs entering the NFL, it's like if you're not going to get the elite guy, I don't think any of these running backs are elite. I talked about it today. You said I woke up and chose violence. But I'm serious. Like, I know for a fact that Najee Harris, the only reason he went back to Alabama last year, do you know what that was? Do you know why he went back to Bama? It wasn't to try to win a national championship. The NFL told him he had a round 2 to 4 NFL draft grade. He didn't have a round 1 grade. Like, the NFL did not see him as a first rounder.
They do now.
We'll see. Hey, running back in the first round could happen. I think he'll go round 1, but it might be later than you think. I don't see Harris being like, I don't think he's a top 20 pick. I wouldn't take him in the top 20. I think he's solid. He's a good running back. It's just, if you're not that elite running back like that Saquon Barkley or that Christian McCaffrey, when I scouted Christian McCaffrey, I put in my scouting report that I see him as a guy who can run for 1,000, catch for 1,000. Like he was to me one of the biggest game changers I've ever seen entering the NFL. When I watch Harris, it's like he's good, but Alabama, I mean, ETN. That's Daniel Jeremiah actually has ETN over Harris, and Daniel Jeremiah is supposedly updating his running back rankings to have Javonte as number 1. So that would put Harris as his number 3 running back.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, and I respect everybody's opinion, but I just can't have ETN above Harris when you look at ETN's games against non-ACC opponents.
Yeah.
He played Notre Dame this year without Sunshine, okay? So they needed him. He averaged 1.6 yards per carry, okay? You're not going to find a Najee Harris game where he averages 1.6 yards per carry, period.
Yeah, agreed.
And so ETN has shrunk in all the, when you're playing North Carolina, okay, and Boston College, you know what I mean? Every week. I mean, if Najee Harris got to play Vanderbilt every week, you know what I mean? He'd have, the same stats. And on top of that, another thing that worries me about ETN, and this can be corrected, but when you look at ETN, he had 1 fumble his freshman year, 2 fumbles his sophomore year. Okay, 2 fumbles his junior year, 3 fumbles his senior year. There's an ungodly stat of, the number of times that Najee Harris has touched the ball at Alabama, and he's had 1 fumble.
Yeah.
1. I mean, I think durability, check. Now, look, is ETN faster than Harris? Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think that's why a lot of people like him more, though. I think Harris doesn't have that, that home run gear everyone's looking for. Like, he's good, but I don't think he has that, I'd be interested to see what he ran his 40 in, honestly. I think he'd be like a 4.5, honestly. He might.
I do too.
I don't think he's a 4.4 guy. I think that's where a lot of people get it. And one thing I will say though is I agree. Harris probably I have him better than ETN, obviously. But there's a huge difference between Alabama's offensive line and Clemson's offensive line. I mean, you're talking a significant difference. There's how many Alabama offensive linemen every year that are going round 1, round 2? Like, how many of them are going to go round 1, round 2 this year? So
you probably got Deontay, you got Leatherwood, and Dickerson. So those are your 3 prospects. No, it's debatable of where they're going to go, but those are your 3. You know what I mean? Yeah. High profile. But I mean, the line. There's a big difference in line, but there's a big difference in who they're playing too.
Yeah, no, trust me. I'm SEC football till I die. Like, I love SEC football. I don't know. We kind of got off track of what I was getting at, but I just see Gainwell as that guy that's like, he's not a guy you need to reach on. Like, you don't need to pick Gainwell at 18. Right. I don't think you need to pick Gainwell at 36. 50, you might not even need to pick him at 50. He didn't play last year, so that might help. I just love – there's something about, there was a play, I think it was against Temple. They were losing. He ran to the right, and he scored a touchdown, but when he got hit, his balance, it reminds me of Alvin Kamara so much, or Alvin Kamara, however you want to say it. It reminds me of him so much, the way he just his body navigates contact. I love running backs like that. So I feel the Dolphins need to wait on a running back. I will never. I'm just so against taking a running back round 1. I mean, even look, Saquon Barkley, he's incredible. I mean, how incredible is he? Christian McCaffrey, incredible. Both those guys. What happened this year?
Injured.
Anyone could get injured. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not reaching on a running back. And I mentioned this the other night, and it's one thing that just drives me insane. A lot of Dolphins fans that want Najee Harris at 18 were the same Dolphins fans that told me that I'm an idiot to sign Aaron Jones to a second contract. You should never sign a running back to a second contract. You're an idiot. So those fans are telling me I'm an idiot, but they want to use the 18th overall pick in the NFL draft for a guy they're only going to have for 4 years. You're not going to give him the second contract because you're going to have to give him the second contract. Are you going to give it to him or not? He's 23, I think, correct? He's 23 years old. You could give him even the 5th-year option. He'll be 28 years old. Are you re-signing a 28-year-old running back who, if you draft him, he's going to be your guy? Every player going to give him the ball. He's going to pound the ball. Are you giving him a second contract? I don't know. So
I mean, if he performs like Derrick Henry, but if he doesn't, then
even if he does, those running backs are going to depreciate. They start the tread starts wearing down. I'm not a fan. From a team building standpoint, I literally hate the idea of adding a running back because that is they have the worst shelf life in the NFL. You're not playing a running back. You're not having a running back at 34 years old. Like Matt Ryan, everyone's like, oh, they should move on from Matt Ryan is how old now, and he's still slinging it for 4,600 yards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's no running back in the NFL. Maybe Adrian Peterson is how old? 34? Is that what he is?
He's up there, yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, that's not normal. So a running back is just such an interesting debate. I mean, we could go on for hours. I could talk to you for hours about just how I'm not a fan of, like, drafting running backs early for so many reasons. But I think one thing that really gets me is just the team building aspect. If you're building around Tua, drafting a running back at 18, you're not setting him up for longevity. You're going to win now. And if the Dolphins are going to win now, that's great. If that's what they want to do, I'm fine with it. But they don't seem like how they navigated through free agency that they're trying to win right now. So I just don't like the idea. You draft a running back in round 1, you're not winning the Super Bowl in 2021. Dolphins fans, as hard as that is to admit, there's no chance the Dolphins are winning the Super Bowl in 2021. 2022, maybe. But I think the team's more set up for the future. So drafting a running back right now at 18 just doesn't fit those draft plans, that plan of like team building. So I hate it. So that's why I went Gainwell at 50. But sorry, I went on.
No. And just for the record, I'm Najee's biggest supporter. I think he's RB1. But with the holes that the Dolphins currently have, there's absolutely zero way I could draft him in first round. Yeah, I mean, I just couldn't do it.
That makes me happy because I know you're a big Bama guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I love Najee, and I think much differently of him than you do. But with the holes that they currently have, I can't spend 18 on a running back. But outside of Gainwell, you had at 81, you had what's his name, Meaners at center. I think he might be a little bit.
Miners.
I think he might be a little bit of a project. I don't know, if he's, but it could be a long term.
He's not going to start year 1. I don't think any center they draft is going to start year 1. That's what I'm concerned about. I think that's what worries me the most about the Dolphins at the center position is like. A lot of people think, oh, they're going to get Creed Humphrey or they're going to get Dickerson and he'll start year 1. Like I really don't think that's the Dolphins' mindset. I think they'll draft one of those guys, but I think they're going to sit him a year. And that's why I think either Landon Dickerson makes the most sense for me, so you can get him healthy, you can sit him the year, it's not a big deal, or Miners because he needs the time to develop and understand the game better. He played D3 football. He didn't even play this year and then went to the Senior Bowl and dominated. So that's why I went center later too. I think if you're going to go center, you got to go with the guy with the best outlook. He's not starting year 1. I really don't think they're going to start center year 1.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be dangerous. I mean, because you got 3 guys that's going to be entering year 2 and then add another guy. So you've got 4 guys that's got less than 2 years experience. So that wouldn't be a good outlook for Tua and his longevity.
Yeah.
But you rounded out the draft with Patrick Jones, the second at edge.
Yep.
You got a quick, recap of Mr. Jones because I'm going to be honest, I hadn't heard a lot about him.
So I haven't heard a lot about him either until Reason's like one of my favorite people, obviously on Twitter. He's like great. Him and I we text all the time now too. He turned me on to him. He's so good in the run game. Like he flashes. I think he had 9.5 sacks last year, which is pretty solid. He got better every year. He got better every year as a pass rusher. I don't think he's really a pass rusher per se, but he's more of a guy that's going to help you in the run game. I think the Dolphins really struggled against the run last year. So you could add a guy like that. I think he plugs in and he can give you important, good snaps in the run game. So that's why I went with him there.
Okay. And then at 231, I've actually seen these highlights. So Jalen Darden.
That's my guy.
Wide receiver. He could be a potential, gem.
Yeah. That's my favorite guy in the draft right there. I know everyone thinks Kyle Pitts is my favorite player. Kyle Pitts is my guy, but Darden is like, if there's one guy that I want no matter what, somehow figure it out, find a way, it's him. I don't even know how he's going to do in the NFL, to be honest. I don't even know what his size is. He's got to have his pro day and all that stuff, but I've never seen a guy like him make people miss. I saw an interview he did. He said something along the lines of like, when he wakes up, like his mission is to make someone miss
I've
that day. Or
seen
someone,
that. Yeah.
like that's crazy. I love his attitude. I love his game. And for slot receivers in the draft, he's first for receptions, yards, touchdowns. I mean, I don't think he'll make it in the 7th. I did the what's it called, the Draft Network's mock draft thing, and he's always there late. I don't know if it's just because he's small and went to North Texas or what, but I love his game. I would love nothing more if the Dolphins can add him. People should be happy. They really should.
Okay. And then you ended the draft at 258 with Sean Davis for safety.
Yeah, that's just kind of like a homer pick at the end. You know, you got to fill someone in. I think Davis, though, would fit what Flores likes on defense. He's never going to be your best player on defense. He's never going to be a superstar, but he's going to fly around every play and act like he's a superstar. Like there's some plays he makes that he made at Florida that it's like, damn, man, why can't you make those plays every week? Like he has some splash plays. I think he'd be a great special teamer. I think he'd be one of those, like, not to bring up the Patriots. I mean, the Dolphins always go with the Patriot way now, but he'd be like one of those like Patriot defenders that you always look at. That's like, if he was on another team, he'd stink. Like, why is he okay on the Patriots? I think that's how he'd be on the Dolphins. He'd just be one of those guys that stick around, make your 53 every year, and just be a hard-nosed player. So I love his game too.
Okay. So I know we've talked a little bit back and forth in messages on Twitter about your experience, and then it's sort of funny. I see, people going back and forth with you on Twitter, the Twitter GMs and everything.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see if you could tell us a little bit, because I know you've covered it. I know at least Philadelphia.
Yeah. Okay? Yep. Philadelphia.
And see if you can't give us just one off the wall, funny, crazy, some kind of story about your experience, covering the NFL.
I started 2015, I want to say 2014 or 2015. I started covering the Eagles. I'm near Philadelphia. I'm in like the Lehigh Valley, so I'm pretty close. But I covered the Eagles. It was a lot of fun. I actually I was big on Carson Wentz before it was ever a thing. I think Carson Wentz was that's why he'll always, I don't care what anyone says, Carson Wentz will always have a place in my heart, because I had Carson Wentz as my number one player in the draft that year. Way, way before anyone even knew who he was. I think I was back in I want to say October, before it was even a thing, that I was pounding the table for Carson Wentz. While I was covering the Eagles, I said the Eagles need to trade up in the first round and get Carson Wentz. That's how they will fix their franchise. They traded up with the Dolphins. I was like, okay, they got a chance here. I actually wrote an article that the Philadelphia Eagles need to give the Browns the best offer they can give them. Move up for Carson Wentz. So this will be my good story. I wrote the article. I remember writing the article, closed my laptop. I'm like, I went to bed that night thinking, I hear a weird noise, just a weird fan or something. I don't know what it is. There we go. But so I wrote the article and I was like, okay, this is going to happen. I went to bed. I'm like, this is the thing. And I'm not kidding. I woke up the next day and the Philadelphia Eagles traded with the Cleveland Browns, and it was like that moment where my writing career just kind of took off. Like, that article was huge. Oh my God, huge. So that's kind of kickstarted it all, and then I started writing more and more about how Carson Wentz is the pick, Carson Wentz is this, and when he got drafted, I had this big article. It had 1 million reads. It said Carson Wentz gives Philadelphia hope or something like that. And I wrote that this move will get Philly their first Super Bowl. And it kind of just went from there. So Philadelphia was a lot of fun for a while, but it actually was half the reason I stopped writing. I just started to hate Eagles fans so much. You think the Dolphins fans that tweet at me that don't even know who I am are annoying? You should have saw some Eagles fans, man. They are just, they're so bad, man. They really made writing not fun for me anymore. They'd be arguing with me on stuff the whole Justin Jefferson, Jalen Reagor. That was it for me. That was when I really stopped writing. I'm the biggest Justin Jefferson fan there was. Draft. One of the best route runners I've ever seen outside of Devontae Smith. Ironically, I thought Justin Jefferson was a better route runner than Jerry Jeudy. I loved Justin Jefferson. Eagles fans telling me I'm dumb. Jalen Reagor's the guy. The Eagles don't need a slot receiver. Justin Jefferson on the board, Eagles on the clock. I'm like, here we go, baby. Justin Jefferson, I'm going to get a pick right again. I got Wentz right. Now I'm going to get this one right. They took Reagor. We all see how that worked out. Reagor stinks. I don't care what anyone says. I've been getting in some arguments with people about Jamar Chase for Dolphins now. Everyone thinks, oh, Jamar Chase can get better at running routes. You can develop in the NFL. Jamar Chase has been playing football his entire life. He's been at LSU, one of the best colleges in the nation. He has arguably some of the greatest coaches. He has trainers in the offseason. If you think that just because now he gets drafted to the NFL, he's going to magically become this elite route runner, you're lying to yourself. These guys don't just magically develop these traits they need to be elite. Like Jamar Chase is a solid player. I like his game. If this wasn't the Dolphins and we were talking about a team that needed like an alpha number one receiver, I'm okay with that. I would be on board with that. The Dolphins don't need someone like him. They have Parker. Obviously, he's better than Parker, but the Dolphins need a route runner. They need someone Tua can trust. And people saying to me, "Oh, he's gonna develop." That's not how it works. I'm telling you, he will never be an elite route runner in the NFL. Mark it down, bookmark it, everything you gotta do. He will never be an elite route runner, and that's kind of how the whole Dolphins or the Eagles thing was. Jalen Reagor, never going to be an elite route runner. He's a gadget type player. He can't get open running routes. They tried so many times to get him down the field. Every play he's locked down. That screws your quarterback over. It's not good. But so yeah, that's kind of like my background with covering the Eagles and that. And then I was done writing. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And then I don't know, the Dolphins thing just was one of those weird things. It just kind of like fell into my hands. And I said to my wife, I think I'm going to do this. I think this is going to be big. Like, I feel like the Dolphins fans too are just so much better. Like if I could somehow get into the Dolphins Twitter world and start writing articles, I think people will start respecting me a little more. I think it was funny too when you messaged me and you're like, "Oh my God, I didn't know you like wrote for all these places."
Yeah, I had no idea.
Like, that's one of my favorite things too about Dolphins Twitter is like I think Eagles Twitter kind of got like annoyed. Like I was on the front page of Sports Illustrated every week and stuff, and they like almost like they would try to like argue with me just because they didn't like how big my articles were getting and stuff. So I don't. It was dumb. So I think with Dolphins fans, it's really fun because a lot of people don't know that I have this background of writing for a very long time, and I've had some of the jobs that I've had. So, I mean, I've interviewed with NFL teams, I've worked at colleges, I've coached high school football. Like, so it's just I don't know. It's been a lot of fun. Dolphins Twitter is a good time. There's some bad eggs on Dolphins Twitter. There's some bad eggs, but like guys like you and some other people that are just fun to talk football with, and it's been awesome. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, I'm glad that people get to, hear more of the story as far as your background. So to close this out, I got, and some of these you may, in your answer, cover more than one, but I've got about 8 questions here. We're going to go rapid fire. I'm going to ask you a question, and you got 30 seconds to tell me, you know what I mean, your full response. Okay?
Love it.
Question number 1, Will Fuller will play over or under 12 games this season?
I'm going to say over. I'm going to believe that he's been working out his body differently and believe that the steroids were on accident, which is bullshit, but whatever. I'm going to believe that it was on accident. I think he said that he's been working out body parts differently and working like that. So I'm going to say over. I think Will Fuller's going to stay healthy and have a huge year for the Dolphins, and the Dolphins will re-sign him after this season.
Okay. So you pretty much answered it, but we'll start the clock again. Next question is, Will Fuller will go over 1,000 yards this season, true or false?
I'm going to say false. I don't think Will Fuller goes over 1,000 yards, but I think he has over 10 touchdowns. And I think who the Dolphins take at number 3, which is going to be Kyle Pitts, will have over 1,000 yards for the Dolphins this year.
Okay. All right. Next question. Do the Fins finish the season with a 1,000-yard rusher?
That's so tough. I'm gonna say no. Okay. I'm gonna say that I've been pretty in tune with how the Dolphins have been navigating the offseason. I feel like I've been in Chris Greer's head. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say they don't take a running back as early as everyone thinks, and it's gonna be running back by committee next year.
Okay. All right. This one is one of my favorite questions. Okay. So taking into consideration the history with Flores, next question is, will Godsey and Studsville remain employed as co-OCs after this season?
Oh, I'm going to say I'm going to say no. I'm going to say one of them will leave because the one who's calling plays will stay and the one who's not calling plays will leave. That's my take.
Okay. All right. Next
That's a good
question.
That was a good question.
Yeah, I mean, because
that's a tough one. Honestly, I think that's like a very underrated storyline this offseason too.
yeah,
I think we really got off that topic, and I think the Dolphins are probably happy that that topic's not really being talked about a lot because that's
it'll come back up this fall, but yeah,
it will. But the thing is like they still haven't announced. They did say they haven't picked who's going to call plays yet, but that means someone is going to call plays. And that's who will be the official offensive coordinator. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic. I'm a little more concerned for Tua than the Dolphins, if that makes sense. I don't like the idea of if the guy they pick isn't doing good, are they going to switch? Now you're giving Tua how many offensive coordinators that early in his career?
yeah.
I'm the biggest Sam Bradford hater in the world. I think Sam Bradford is garbage. But the Rams didn't do him good by giving him all those offensive coordinators his first 10 years. That really messes with the quarterback. So that was a great question because that's such an underrated topic this offseason that we touched on for maybe a week, and then it just fizzled out and got away. But that's not going anywhere. That is going to be huge preseason, like training camp. That's going to be a big storyline. So that's a great question.
And I agree with this comment right here.
As long as oh, I love it.
All right. Next question. Kind of a loaded question, but I mean, there is degrees to this. Does Tua perform at a top 10 level this season?
This season,
not top 5, top 10.
I'm gonna say no, and I don't mean it in a mean or a bad way. But I mentioned this on Reason Show too. Everyone needs to realize Tua is going to end up being a top 10 quarterback. Not just because he's a good quarterback, but some of these older quarterbacks, they're going to start retiring. You lost Drew Brees. We'll see. I hope Brady's done after this year. He's got to stop playing football. He's too good. It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
We got to think like Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, Tom Brady. Like these guys are going to start going. So there's going to be some openings to sneak into that top 10. But I don't think this year – well, maybe Watson's not playing this year, so there's a spot for the top 10. I don't think Deshaun Watson plays it down. So I'm going to say he's top 12. I don't think he's in the top 10.
All right. Now the questions are going to get a little tougher now. Okay, we only got 3 questions left. Number of wins for the Dolphins next season.
Ooh, this one will make some people mad, I think. I'm going to say – you want me to just give a number, or are we going over, under?
Just a number.
I'm going to say –
and nobody's going to remember this.
Yeah. Before the draft now, we don't know who they're going to draft. That could change everything. If they draft Kyle Pitts, and I'm dead serious, if they draft Kyle Pitts, they win 10 games. If they go offensive line, there's nothing wrong with it, but if they go offensive line, I think the Dolphins will win around 8 games this year. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. If they're going longevity instead of like Kyle Pitts is this year right now going to win you games. If they go offensive line and they're building for the future more like they've been doing, they're only going to win 8 games. They don't make the playoffs. The Bills run them out of the stadium again.
Okay. 2 questions left. This one, what is your too early Super Bowl matchup for next year?
For next year? Ooh, I'll give you a good spicy one. You want a spicy one? I'm going to say Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is the easiest cop-out. Indianapolis Colts, and I'm going to go even farther. I'm going to say Colts win the Super Bowl next year. I think the Indianapolis Colts are going to be the best team in the NFL. I think they'll have the best offense in the NFL, and their defense is underrated and flies around. They got all pros on the defensive line. They got an all-pro at linebacker. Their secondary is young, and they fly around too. So I'm going to say the Colts are going to smack the Chiefs this year. I think that the Colts defensive line is going to manhandle. I know the Chiefs had some additions, but they're not going to be in sync as they were. I think the Colts defensive line will manhandle the Chiefs, and I think the Colts are making the Super Bowl. I think Colts are winning the Super Bowl. I think Carson Wentz is going to win Comeback Player of the Year, and the Indianapolis Colts win the Super Bowl.
I mean, that would be a story right there.
I've never been more confident in a quarterback than Carson Wentz. A lot of people – I got an argument with someone today on Twitter. Carson Wentz is garbage, he said. I'm telling you, Carson Wentz Super Bowl MVP too? I agree. I really do think Carson Wentz is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. This guy didn't go from the number 3 player in the NFL to a terrible player. The Eagles went from a terrible team. They didn't help him out, which is my concern with Tua. I hope the Dolphins do him right, because the Eagles, they didn't do Carson Wentz right. They put all these makeshift weapons around him. They never gave him the weapon he needed. So I hope the Dolphins do Tua right. But Carson Wentz, he's great. I'm telling you, Carson Wentz is going to be electric on that offense. I mean, they just signed T.Y. Hilton. The receiving core is nasty. Fantasy purposes, I know I went over 30 seconds. My bad. Fantasy purposes, Paris Campbell is one of my favorite receivers that entered the NFL. He got injured this year, but before he got injured, he was a monster. Wait till you see Paris Campbell with Carson Wentz. That's. I'm telling you, Colts are going to be. You got money? I'm putting it on the Colts.
Okay. Last question. We'll try to throw you for a loop here. Okay. Last question is your expectations for the Florida Gators football team next year?
You shouldn't even ask me this. So you want to talk about betting money? I put money down on Emory Jones to win Heisman because no. Now hear me out. And I shouldn't even give this away because I'm working on. I cover the Dolphins, but I also cover the Florida Gators, and I'm working on an insane piece. It's going to take me even longer than it is. It's already taken me over a month. It's going to take me probably a month, 2 more months to finish. But I'm doing an article about how Dan Mullen is one of the greatest, if not the greatest quarterback coaches ever in college football history. If you look at his track record of what he's done with quarterbacks, I mean, Alex Smith, everyone forgets Alex Smith. He was his quarterback coach, number 1 pick. This guy won a national championship with Chris Leak, Tim Tebow. He made Dak Prescott the guy he is. Fitzgerald looked great with him. Kyle Trask is he's bad. I'm telling you, Kyle Trask is bad. Dan Mullen made him almost win Heisman. Emory Jones has been the guy. I wish they should have started Emory Jones this year. I can't believe they didn't. I know Trask looked great, but again, Dan Mullen was the reason for that. I think Emory Jones is going to be so incredible in Dan Mullen's offense. He is such a good running quarterback. It's disgusting. The quarterback runs they're going to have with him, it's going to be crazy. They just got the transfer from Clemson at running back. They got Cleveland at wide receiver. They got Shorter. Their offense they got me so excited. The defense is the question.
Do they beat Alabama?
Do they beat Alabama? Yes. This year I think they do. No, listen. Hey, who's Alabama's quarterback? Who's going to play?
The number 1 dual threat quarterback in the country, Bryce Young. Yeah, and they just signed 4 wide receivers. Who are the top 10.
Alabama's receivers are always great, but I don't think Young's going to be as good as everyone thinks. Alabama's it's got to happen where an Alabama quarterback doesn't succeed in Nick Saban's offense. It's got to happen.
Mac Jones isn't that great. And look what he just did.
Okay. That's a whole other discussion. I don't think Mac Jones is as bad as everyone thinks.
Now, I will tell you, I do think it's going to be an adjustment because I agree with you on Mullen as far as the quarterback. But as high as you think he is as a quarterback coach, I think he's equally that bad as a head coach and a person. But as a quarterback coach, there's no denying what you said whatsoever. But at the same time, I think that the only thing that I fear for Alabama is going to be, I don't think Steve Sarkisian can ever get enough credit for the play calling.
Oh, it was amazing. Dude, you want to watch? If you love offensive football, watch him this year at Alabama. How fun were they?
Yeah, Steve Sarkisian is a genius.
But see, that's what I'm saying. You got a new offensive coordinator, and who's that guy? What's his name? He's a great coach. He was a really good NFL coach, wasn't he?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, come on now. I think this might be fun.
It's a machine, man.
And honestly, what kind of take is this, to be honest, though? Because you can say it every year. You can just keep guessing. Like everyone always used to say, this is the year Brady and the Patriots won't be good. Well, I think this is the year that Alabama will finally hit a little bump in the road. And it's just pretty much hope more than actually knowing. But I just feel like if there's any year that Bama can hit a bump in the road, where Florida's getting their stride and they're filled with weapons on offense, I think this is the year that Florida can keep up with Bama. I really do.
Well, we're going to talk many times before then, but we need to make sure the SEC championship game week, we need to get back on here.
That'll be fun.
And we need to talk about compared teams.
I'm so excited for college. I think I'm more excited for college football this year than anything. It's going to be a fun year. I don't know, though. NFL's got some great storylines, too, so – football, it's so far away, but it's coming so quick. And once the draft goes, it'll go faster than you think. So I'm getting excited for football again.
Yes. Well, everybody here should be following you on Twitter. Okay. And if they're not, tell them one more time your Twitter and any website and where they can get your information.
Yep. You can follow me at NuttyXProfessor. And for those that don't know, obviously that's the Eddie Murphy movie, the Nutty Professor, the Klumps. Fun fact, I met Eddie Murphy in California, and he didn't believe my last name was Klump, and I showed him my license. I have to find it, but I have a picture with Eddie Murphy pointing at I was holding my license, and he's pointing at it and how funny it was. But yeah, you can follow me at NuttyXProfessor. I'm covering the Dolphins at Fin Fanatic, and I'm covering the Florida Gators at Hail Florida Hail. So yeah, give me a follow. I love talking football. You say anything stupid to me, I'll just block you. It's not a big deal. I've been big on the blocks lately. I love doing the blocks. It's like if you get blocked, you'll get a nice little Frozen 2 little GIF, and it'll say "Into the Unknown." So that's been fun. And if you are blocked and you're listening to this, that's your own problem. You only get blocked for a reason. Trust me. I love talking football. If you come to me, ooh, Ryan Catley, I see you, boy. Great staff at Hail Florida Hail. That's one of my boys from back home. He actually writes for Hail Florida Hail with me. I love that guy. He's awesome. Great kid, great football mind. But yeah, if you want to talk football with me, I'm okay with you disagreeing with me. But if you disagree with me, tell me why you disagree with me. Don't tell me I'm wrong. Listen, I've been around football way longer than some of you could even imagine. I've been in more football than some of you could even imagine. So if you disagree with me, I love that. I love learning new things. I love being proven wrong. I love even just a different opinion to help my mind think. But give me the opinion. Don't just tell me I'm an idiot. If you tell me I'm an idiot, you're the idiot. Give me your opinion. Tell me why Kyle Pitts isn't a good pick at number 3. Tell me why having 2 tight ends is bad. Like, don't just tell me it's dumb. Give me some actual football talk. That's all I ask for. I love talking football with you too, bro. I really do, though. I will talk football with anyone. Like, all you have to do is just, I want to actually talk football. Don't just tweet at me and say, nope, not going to happen. Like, okay, why is it not going to happen? That's why I like talking football. So, yeah, honestly, if you want to follow some smart stuff, Mr. Smart over here, I love, like, I'm not a big analytics guy. I don't even know if you'd call what you're doing. Would you call it analytics? I guess, like, in a sense, it's more like, I'm not a big numbers guy like that. Like, I like just turning on film. I could sit, my wife will laugh. I'll sit for hours. I'll just sit here. She's like, you're just watching football. And I love watching football. But sometimes the numbers are a lot of fun, and like connecting the numbers to the film to me now has been one of my new favorite things to do. So I love when you tweet some stuff like that. So make sure you guys give him a follow too. Great football talk. And honestly, I'm pretty pumped that he's got a show going now because it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I appreciate it. I don't have the same experience, but I just started this whole thing of there's so much out there that gotcha, oh, well, that takes trash. He's trash, this, that. And I don't know. I'm an analytic person anyway. So, thinking, so I'm one of those to where before I make a decision, I'm going to go look at the numbers and see, okay, does this match? Because am I just giving it the biased, the heat of the moment take, or does this back it up? And then once I see the numbers, then, I sort of make my opinion. And most of the time when I put out numbers, the number one thing, most of the time when I put out numbers, I literally just put the numbers. And then the comments start coming in. Well, that's not fair. And I'm like, I'm just giving you the information. You can do with it what you want. You know what I mean?
I love it.
I just like looking at the information because, with football, it's just, I don't know. I like it. I like watching I just got into the all 22 and I like, going back and forth on Twitter.
Road, brother, I'm telling you, the all 22, hours I spend on it. Hours. It's so fun. Football is so beautiful, man, especially from that angle. There's nothing better than what. Like I remember you sent me some offensive line plays. It's just, dude, it's beautiful. But keep going. My bad. I get mad about the all 22, man.
Yeah, I try to watch some of that stuff, and to me, it's just about putting out information, looking up. Tua struggled. Okay, but why? And it's not just because this player's trash. And looking up that type of information. So that's a lot of what I do, and then I leave most of the profiles, player profiles and stuff like that to the professionals like you. And that's why it's good to, have your input in here. But, I like looking at the tape. I like looking at the numbers, but I'm also at the same time, I will never tell anybody this one stat or that one stat or this one number is better than any other number. I'm a big person on, there's no perfect stat. I mean, there's not a single perfect stat out there, but I do think that the more information you have, the better you can formulate an educated opinion. So that's, why I like to look up a lot of the stuff that I do, and I put it out there. And you can follow me at SmartJames1981. And Mr. Klump, you just don't, Mr. Klump Sr.
As your senior now.
Okay.
I appreciate Twitter letting me know that. I didn't know that. One of my best friends said that to me, and then I texted my wife. I'm like, hey, wait, can I go by senior now? She's like, I don't know. And then I found out I could, and she's like, oh, damn. And now I'm going by. I love it. I love that. Thank you.
But I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a pleasure.
This was fun, man. I love talking ball with you, even on Twitter. This is awesome. I'm happy for you, man. Everyone, I'm telling you, this guy, he's got something special going. He's a great football mind, and he's just getting into it too. You wait till next year how far this guy's stuff's going to go. I'm telling you, he's worth the follow. And I don't just say that. I can call people out that aren't the best to talk football with. He is a great football talk. So make sure you guys keep tuning in. Make sure you follow him. And I can't wait to see what else we got coming from him. It's pretty great stuff, honestly.
I appreciate it. And for everybody who tuned in, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you for all the comments and all the information. This will be up, afterwards, so other people can come see it later. So if you like the show, make sure to go back on Twitter, give it a like, give it a comment. Love to have some input. But for tonight, fins up, and we'll holler at y'all later.